It climbs nearly 50 meters into the air, then drops 90 degrees straight down at over 100 kilometers per hour. Valkyria is Europe's tallest dive coaster. What makes this ride so terrifying? And what keeps its trains locked to the rails through death-defying turns and head-spinning inversions?
It's our ambition to deliver the most exciting ride experience possible.
We unlock the engineering secrets of how this ride delivers big thrills. From the supersized structures that anchor it to the bedrock 25 meters into the Earth, to the space-age wheels that keep its trains rolling all season long, to reveal what it takes to build the ultimate super coaster. This is Liseberg Amusement Park in Sweden. 3 million visitors flock here every year to experience the park's 39 exciting rides and attractions. Competition is fierce between the hundreds of amusement parks across Europe. Liseberg's survival depends on attracting thrill seekers with newer, bigger and scarier roller coasters. To stay ahead of the curve, the park built this. Valkyria. This ride gets its name from the flying maidens of Norse mythology. Legend says they swooped from the sky and carried slain warriors to heaven. This coaster gives its passengers their very own Ride of the Valkyries. It is a dive coaster that drops riders 90 degrees straight down at 105 kilometers an hour into a tunnel and through a series of head-spinning inversions. At 47 meters high, Valkyria is the tallest dive coaster in Europe. Its aim is to deliver eager thrill seekers a heart-stopping ride up to 675 times a day. Valkyria is built with innovative technologies hidden under the hood to help it achieve its mission and wow the crowds. Mighty chains pull the coaster nearly 50 meters up into the sky and hold it at the top of the drop. Tough nylon wheels keep the train rolling to the end of the track. Super strong hydraulic harnesses keep passengers firmly in their seats. All these elements combine to make Valkyria the ultimate dive coaster. The next 48 hours promise to test the ride to its limits. This April weekend, Liseberg opens for the season. An estimated 20,000 people will pack this park to experience all the fun of the fair. Valkyria must operate close to full capacity, non-stop, for 8 hours a day. To add to the pressure, representatives of Europe's largest coaster club are in town to ride Valkyria for the first time. Their opinion counts, as it could affect the ride's popularity and future passenger numbers. Liseberg closes between January and late April, when temperatures drop to their lowest. The park mothballs its rides to protect them from the harsh winter weather. Engineers must test all of Valkyria's components to make sure they're in full working order before the season starts. Liseberg CEO Andreas Andersson must ensure the park is ready for opening day.
We have to disassemble the ride, we have to do all the annual maintenance, we have to make sure that the ride is in mint condition. There's a lot of work that has to be done to make sure they can reopen again in April.
7 a.m. The park opens to the public in 8 hours. It rests on the shoulders of technical manager Niklas Karlgren to perform the last-minute checks before Valkyria receives its first passengers of the season. Niklas's first job is to inspect every centimetre of Valkyria's 750-metre-long track.
I'm looking at the track-to-track connections for loose nuts and bolts. I check the column connections also for loose nuts and bolts. I look at the track, the screws. I look so there's always a straight line, so nothing has moved. Because we want to find anything that could become a catastrophe.
Next, Niklas must test the track's strength under operational conditions. He uses 18 water dummies to simulate the weight of a full ride.
Each of these weight is 75 kilo when it's filled up. It's a normal weight of a person, most of them are.
There's good reason for the dummies to take the first plunge. Europe's longest dive coaster plummets 50 meters into a subterranean hole. At the bottom of the vertical drop, the passengers are traveling at 105 kilometers per hour. Within the space of 40 meters, the track levels out and curves upwards out of the tunnel. The force the falling train exerts on this section of track is roughly equivalent to dropping an 18-ton weight on the rails. The track could fracture if it's not firmly secure to the ground, leading to potentially disastrous consequences. Valkyria needs a rock-solid footing. So the team at Liseberg work with David Norian to engineer a rugged solution.
The force of the train coming down to the tunnel is very high, so the foundations have to be attached to the bedrock underneath.
But reaching solid stone is a big challenge in this part of Sweden. When engineers start the build in 2016, they find 25 meters of thick clay lies between them and the bedrock. Diggers battle for 2 months to remove nearly 4,000 tons of mud for the tunnel. And when deeper drilled holes for the foundations do strike rock, the team discovers another problem. The bedrock slopes towards a nearby river. How can engineers anchor Valkyria to rock that changes in depth from place to place? To be sure Valkyria's foundations reach far enough into the ground, engineers drill 12 25-meter-long steel towers called piles into the bedrock. They pour concrete platforms on top of the piles. Engineers then fit the sections of coaster track to the concrete. Thick bolts create super strong joints between the metalwork. Together, the long piles, concrete and bolts lock the track into place. They make it strong enough to withstand the impact of Valkyria's train carriages, plummeting into the tunnel up to 675 times a day.
Valkyria is the bird's biggest project ever. It took hundreds of hours to complete this, and no matter which weather it was. Today I'm very proud that Valkyria sits here, but during the process it was very challenging.
2 p.m. The park opens to the public in just 1 hour. It's time for Niklas to test the track using 18 water dummies. He activates the 150-meter-long lift chain. This pulls the train to the top of the hill. Moments later, it's poised for the drop. The track holds firm for the dummy test. But before he passes Valkyria fit for service, Niklas must ride the coaster alone.
Dummy test run went very well, but before I sign it off, I want to go a test run myself and see so everything sounds and looks good.
Any unusual bumps or scrapes will alert Niklas to potential mechanical problems. If he thinks they're serious, the ride can't open until they're fixed.
The first connection with the lift chain felt really good. Now comes the drop. As perfect as it could be.
The coaster passes the test with flying colors.
That felt really, really good, and it sounded nice, felt super good, so I'm ready to sign this off.
3 p.m. Liseberg opens for the season. The rush begins. Hundreds of visitors head straight for Valkyria. As demand increases, so does the pressure on Europe's tallest dive coaster. What are the engineering secrets that allow Valkyria to hold and then drop hundreds of passengers every hour? And how does this coaster spin and twist thrill seekers without coming off the rails? – 4 p.m. Liseberg Amusement Park's opening day of the season. Over the next 48 hours, the Valkyria dive coaster must give an estimated 20,000 visitors the ride of their lives. For decades, amusement parks around the world have competed to build bigger, better, and even more terrifying rides. 1989. The world's tallest roller coaster stands 62 meters high. 16 years later, the record more than doubles to 139 meters. In 1976, 3 inversions or upside-down rolls is the max. By 2013, the record quadruples to 14 loops. Valkyria's most iconic feature is its huge drop. One of the longest vertical drops in Europe. Nearly 50 meters, straight down. This ultimate dive coaster was engineered here, in this specialist metalworks in the United States. At Claremont Steel Fabricators in Cincinnati, a team of 80 workers bend, twist, and weld steel to make some of the greatest rides in the world. The factory covers an area the size of 73 tennis courts. Company President Bob Mampey drives the operation.
A lot of people can design roller coasters, but it's really difficult to execute the design, and that's what we do here the best, execute the design.
It takes 90 days for workers to cut 227 tons of steel to make Valkyria's 100 support columns. They mold the coaster's 77 individual track sections following a detailed blueprint.
Precision is the key to the game here. We produce these roller coasters to give the smoothest ride possible. Every millimeter counts.
Each track section receives 4 coats of special paints to prevent the salty air of Liseberg's coastal location from corroding the metal track. In 2017, heavy haulage experts start shipping Valkyria's 174 pieces of track and supports to Sweden. Engineers at Liseberg spend 1 year driving piles, erecting the support columns, and fixing the track sections into place. The passengers filling Valkyria's departure hall are the latest in a long line of thrill seekers eager to experience this next step in coaster evolution. Lifting 6 tons of train and passengers nearly 50 meters into the air is a huge challenge. The engineers who built this super coaster design an ingenious solution to literally pull the train up the hill without it ever slipping back. A continuous 150-meter long lift chain powered by a 230 kilowatt electric motor runs the length of the 45-degree incline. A metal pin mounted beneath the front of the train hooks into the lift chain. If a malfunction makes the chain fall slack, sprung metal blocks on each carriage lock into a toothed rail on the track, so the train can never roll backwards out of control. Rounding the hill's summit is just the start. Next, this extraordinary machine must suspend the train over the edge just long enough to terrify the passengers before dropping them straight down into the tunnel. Building a system with the strength to hold 6 tons of train and passengers is a formidable engineering feat. Traditional mechanical brakes use electrically controlled calipers to grip metal discs attached to the axle. But stopping and suspending the coaster train plus passengers up to 675 times a day could cause extreme wear on brake discs like these. There's a risk that the brakes will fail and Valkyria's train will roll over the edge of the drop. Even worse, if there's a power cut while the brakes are on, the train and passengers could be stuck facing downwards, making rescue almost impossible. The 13th of April, 2017. The Joker's Jinx roller coaster at Six Flags America breaks down. One of the wheels jams on the track with the train 30 meters off the ground. Rescuers work for over 3 hours to get all 24 passengers safely off the ride. A mechanical breakdown like this on opening weekend will seriously dent Valkyria's reputation. The coaster's engineers build into the machine a rugged 2-stage system to hold it over the drop hundreds of times a day. Stage 1. Reduce the train's speed. To do this, engineers fix magnets to its undercarriage. Then they install metal plates at the top of the drop that interact with the magnets.
First thing that happens here before the drop is this magnetic brakes, and they will reduce the speed of the train. Yeah. Looking good.
At the hill's summit, the train disengages the lift chain. Motorized wheels on the track propel the train around a curve before the magnetic brakes slow it to 7.2 kilometers per hour. Next comes stage 2. Dangle the train over the edge. Engineers equip Valkyria with a 20-meter-long drop chain system to secure the carriages in position.
So here we have the drop chain. The train hooks up into this chain, and the electrical motor will reduce the speed and actually electrical-wise hold it and give it a complete stop over this edge.
Hooks mounted on the train's undercarriage mesh with the drop chain. The chain connects to a 308 horsepower motor mounted under the track at the top of the ride. The motor slowly pulls the carriages over the edge. When the whole train reaches precisely the right point, the motor locks the carriages in place. Suspended in mid-air, the passenger's anticipation builds. Then the drop chain releases, the undercarriage pins fall free, and the train plummets straight down, reaching a top speed of 105 kilometers per hour. The drop chain will go slack if the ride's power fails, allowing the coaster train to fall freely, so it can never get stuck on the edge and trigger a complex and time-consuming rescue operation. 2 hours into the opening weekend, and Valkyria's big drop continues to wow the crowds. But this coaster must offer even more to earn ultimate status. What innovative engineering allows this machine to spin passengers 360 degrees without causing them to black out? And what technology makes it possible for a coaster with no engine to roll right around the track? In Sweden, it's the season opening weekend at Liseberg Amusement Park. Eager thrill seekers queue for the biggest, scariest rides. Top of their list, Europe's tallest dive coaster, Valkyria. Their experience starts long before they step aboard. Inside the departure hall, swords, shields, and fiery cauldrons evoke the theme of some of Norse mythology's most famous characters.
Valkyries are these goddesses that pick up slain soldiers on the battleground, and they are flying through the air, diving down, picking up these soldiers and bringing them to Valhalla, the Viking version of heaven.
By the time passengers climb aboard the train, they're ready for their very own Ride of the Valkyries.
It's a really good choice on the theme on a roller coaster, and the name Valkyria goes really well with it. It raises the expectations and the overall feeling you get when you ride.
Valkyria drops thrill seekers 50 meters into a subterranean tunnel. But to qualify as the ultimate in its class, this coaster must do more than just fall vertically.
A good ride is actually almost like a good film. It has a beginning, it has a build-up, it has a climax, and then it sort of fades out. And I think that Valkyria does just that.
To make Valkyria a white-knuckle ride the whole way around, its designers build in 3 circular loops called inversions. These give passengers the buzz of turning upside down. But history proves there's a fine line between thrilling riders and seriously injuring them. 1895. America's first roller coaster with an inversion opens at Coney Island. The Flip-Flap Railway features a small diameter circular loop. Many passengers complain of whiplash and other injuries following their ride. The Flip-Flap's problem is that its loop is a perfect circle with a tight 3.8-meter radius. The train must travel more than 22 kilometers per hour to make it around this full loop. The acceleration this generates subjects passengers riding the train to 12 Gs of force. That's equivalent to 4 times the force astronauts feel during a rocket launch. The Flip-Flap's bad reputation spreads. A greater number of spectators turn up to watch unwitting passengers suffer injury than thrill-seekers wanting to ride. The Flip-Flap is dismantled after 7 years. Valkyria's engineers build into the coaster a special loop with a twist to solve the problem of inversions with excessive G-force. Its design is named after the aerial acrobatics of a German World War I fighter ace. Max Immelmann pioneers a loop that tightens as his plane ascends and finishes in a roll. The maneuver keeps the G-forces low and helps him get the jump on his opponents. Valkyria's rails guide the coaster's train along the same path to curve upwards and simultaneously roll through 180 degrees. Valkyria's Immelmann twists at the top of the curve, sending the train out right side up. Passengers experience the thrill of an inversion without the extreme acceleration of a full loop. And their bodies are subjected to a comfortable 3.5 G of force. But one Immelmann loop is not enough to qualify Valkyria as an ultimate coaster. To take the ride to the next level, designers build in a set of wicked twists to spin passengers 360 degrees as they travel forwards at high speed. But rotating riders quickly without making them feel sick is another huge engineering challenge. Some radical coasters put the trains on the outside of the track. This twists passengers fast through a large circle, making their heads spin. The motion can make riders feel unwell by affecting the delicate mechanisms in their ears. Ill passengers on opening weekend will dent Valkyria's reputation and spell disaster for Liseberg. So her designers place the train on the inside of the curve to make the ride more comfortable. The simple switch spins the riders slower in a smaller circle centered around their chests. This reduces both head spin and the risk of sickness. Valkyria's twists and spins prove a big hit with thrill-seeking visitors.
You have the drop, which obviously is awesome on all dive coasters, but in Valkyria's case, it continues to deliver the whole circuits.
You get to get adrenaline rush, and then you can enjoy the ride, riding on the adrenaline for a few seconds more, and I love it.
By the halfway point in the season opening weekend, Valkyria has flown thousands of riders. And tomorrow promises to be even busier. What is this coaster's secret for keeping its wheels rolling no matter the weather? And what technology guarantees all passengers stay firmly in their seats? In Sweden, it's the season opening weekend at Liseberg Amusement Park. one attraction is a must ride. Valkyria, Europe's tallest dive coaster, named after the legendary Norse maidens who swooped from the heavens. It drops 18 passengers down a 90-degree, 50-meter-long slope into a dark tunnel before flying through a series of wild inversions. Today, it must operate continuously for the next 8 hours to satisfy the long line of eager thrill seekers. It's critical the train makes it all the way around the track every time it runs. Valkyria's trains have no onboard engines. All of their energy must come from the 50-meter fall at the start of the ride. Too much friction between the wheel bearings and axles will slow the trains down. Making sure the limited energy the coaster trains do have is channeled into keeping them moving forwards is a big engineering challenge. Every night, Valkyria closes. In the coaster's maintenance hangar, a dedicated team uses thick grease to lubricate all the coaster train's moving components.
Grease is a really important part of the operations here. The main purpose is to lower the friction between metal surfaces, and because of it lowers the friction, the wear also reduces.
But in this part of Sweden, the climate creates a big problem for greased machines. Temperatures in the early and late season often struggle to pass 10 degrees centigrade. At such low temperatures, the grease lubricating the wheels is thick and viscous. This creates drag inside each wheel and slows them down. The train loses speed, increasing the risk it won't have enough forward momentum to make it back to the station. The train could stop on the track, leaving the riders stranded. Engineers would have to manually drag the train back to the station, a job that could take hours.
So that's why a roller coaster train stuck somewhere on the track is one of my worst nightmares.
To solve the problem, engineers must reduce friction between the train's wheels and the rails. The 6 mounts on each train chassis hold pairs of 3 different types of wheel. Road wheels bear the train's weight. Side wheels control lateral movement. Upstop wheels positioned under the rail prevent the train from lifting away from the track. The harder the material, the lower its friction. Some coasters use super dense solid steel wheels. Their ultra-low friction keeps the train rolling to the end of the line. But steel wheels can make some coasters noisy, and their hardness can make riders feel every bump in the track. Valkyria's reputation as an ultimate coaster rests on giving every passenger a smooth ride. Engineers must balance comfort with the need for the train to complete the track after every drop, all season long. Their solution is to arm Valkyria with 2 different sets of wheels, one soft, one hard. Engineers' first choice of train wheels are made from polyurethane. These soft wheels give passengers the quietest, smoothest ride possible. But their sponginess increases friction, fractionally slowing the train. When thicker axle grease increases drag in cold temperatures, engineers swap the polyurethane wheels for a harder nylon set. Their tougher surface results in a noisier ride, but reduces friction, cancelling out the drag caused by the thick grease, so the train completes the track every time. Valkyria's super wheels keep its trains moving, and the thrills coming for thousands of white-knuckled riders. Demand to ride Valkyria skyrockets as the opening weekend ramps up. To complete its mission, the coaster must fly every passenger around the track safely and securely. What hidden technology keeps every rider firmly in their seat? And what will be the coaster enthusiast's verdict after riding Valkyria for the very first time? In Sweden, eager thrill seekers soak up the last few hours of Liseberg Amusement Park's season opening weekend. Europe's tallest dive coaster, Valkyria, is the star attraction. To qualify as the ultimate, this ride must both thrill its passengers and protect them.
Safety is a non-negotiable. We never, ever compromise when it comes to the safety of our guests.
The challenge for the designers of a coaster that drops, inverts, and spins its riders is how to keep everybody firmly in their seats all the way around the track. The solution is built into the restraints fitted to each of Valkyria's 18 seats. A pair of hydraulic cylinders squeezes liquid through one-way valves. These lock the padded shoulder restraints in place. A hydro valve makes sure the liquid's pressure stays constant to secure thrill seekers of every weight. The system intelligently adjusts its locked position to accommodate both adult and teenage riders. Once the ride is over, the one-way valves open and release the hydraulic fluid. Each week, Valkyria's maintenance team tests every restraint. They use a pneumatic gauge to measure the tiniest movement of each bar in the locked position. Mechanics replace immediately any restraint that moves by more than 2 millimeters.
The roller coaster is actually extremely safe. Your body thinks it's in danger, but it really isn't. These engineering marvels, these constructions are designed not just around thrill, but designed around safety.
Valkyria's engineers can rely on the super strong restraint system to keep riders in their seats. But Liseberg's geography presents another big safety challenge. It rains here for an average of 14 days every month during the 8 months Liseberg is open. And the amusement park sits in a river valley. This is bad news for one section of Valkyria's track. Valkyria's 3-meter deep tunnel sits just below the area's water table. After heavy rainfall, it's possible that water could seep through the bedrock and gradually build up inside the tunnel, to the point it laps over Valkyria's track. If that were to happen, when a train passes through the tunnel, the water could drag on the wheels, slowing the carriage. There's a chance the train wouldn't complete the rise out of the tunnel and would roll backwards into the dark, wet, subterranean hole. Passengers stuck in water underground will seriously dent Valkyria's reputation and drive away thrill seekers. To make sure this never happens, engineers equip the ride with sensors. These monitor the water level inside the tunnel. The amusement park team receives an alert if the sensors detect pooling water. A pair of pumps then remove water from the tunnel long before its level could pose a risk to the ride's operation. Three hours to go until the season opening weekend rush is over. Valkyria has flown thousands of people and more wait in line for the ride of their lives. One of them is president of the European Coaster Club, Justin Garvanovich. Today, he and his club members will ride and review Liseberg's new coaster.
It looks impressive. It looks hugely impressive, and huge being the right word, I think. It's Europe's tallest dive coaster as well. It's about 200 feet above the ground over there, and it dives below though, so the drop's substantially bigger. I can't wait.
Justin is a veteran of over 2,000 coasters with nearly 100,000 rides under his belt. His opinion could make the difference between Valkyria joining the ranks of ultimate rides and falling to the bottom of the popularity table. What will be the verdict? And what technology promises to be the next leap forward in coaster design? Liseberg Amusement Park's busy opening weekend is almost over. Valkyria is the latest in a long line of pioneering coasters, pushing the limits of speed and exhilaration. In a fiercely competitive industry, the challenge for engineers is how to make their ride stand out. Liseberg's solution is to build a virtual reality Valkyria that passengers can ride before they climb aboard the real thing. The park reaches out to Simon Jimmefors to develop this experience. His expert team uses 3D modeling to build around Valkyria's track, a mythological world of heroes and fantasy creatures.
We were super excited because it's so fun project. We got to build a roller coaster and have it here in the office, of course. They have the real track in 3D. We just need to build something around it. Falling rocks and some monsters and fire and everything cool.
Wearable technology plunges the passengers into the world's sights and sounds. A motor-driven chair replicates the sensation of riding the real Valkyria. The virtual ride goes live in 2017. Its unique mythology-inspired theme wows thrill seekers. It's possible the next evolution will allow passengers to experience the virtual world at the same time as riding a real-world coaster.
I'm really excited about the future. When the VR tech is more responsive and immersive, we have a chance to create that world. We've only seen the beginning of the use of virtual reality in amusement parks. It's going to be huge.
6 p.m. Liseberg's busy opening weekend will draw to a close in 5 hours' time. President of the European Coaster Club, Justin Garvanovich, is here to ride Valkyria for the first time. Liseberg CEO Andreas needs him to experience the ride of his life.
For every guest walking through the gates, we want to create unforgettable experiences. We want to create, the best day of the year.
But Justin isn't just any guest. His coaster reviews really count. Valkyria must receive 5 stars to join the ranks of ultimate rides. Now is the moment of truth.
You never know where we're going to go.
absolutely wonderful. The drop worked perfectly, absolutely fantastic. Can we go again, please?
Justin delivers his verdict to park boss Andreas.
I loved it.
Oh,
It does
good.
scares you, it worries you, it thrills you. It wants you to get back on again.
Oh, yeah,
It is
yeah.
as smooth as glass.
Yeah, it is, it is. I think, you know, for the location we're in, being a very compact city-based park, I think this is perfection.
Liseberg's busy opening weekend ends on a big high. The park's star ride completes its mission. Valkyria has flown thousands of visitors over the past 48 hours and cemented its reputation as a premier amusement attraction.
We really liked the dive coaster concept, but we wanted to take it further. We really wanted to build the ultimate compact dive coaster for the European market, and I think we succeeded.
It's all thanks to a series of engineering innovations built into the twisting body of this machine that helps make it one of the world's ultimate rides. Deep-sunk, super-strong piles secure precision-engineered tracks to the bedrock. A mighty drop chain holds the coaster on the edge. Near frictionless wheels keep the coaster train rolling right around the track. Head-spinning inversions and corkscrew twists exhilarate passengers. Hydraulic harnesses keep everyone firmly in their seats. This is Europe's tallest dive coaster. And one of the most thrilling rides in the world. Valkyria is built to be the ultimate in its class.